Let's get a quick take on the Colorado Supreme Court refusing to answer the questions submitted by Governor John Hickenlooper regarding the conflict between the Gallagher and Taxpayer Bill of Rights amendments. Patty Cahoon from Westword, this was seen as a political Hail Mary anyway, so I guess it's not much of a surprise they said no, but is this basically the last big political move we're going to see from the Hickenlooper administration?
Oh, I don't think so. I think we'll still see some more. It's just too bad that he waited he wasn't in office 25 years, but we've had this conflict for more than 25 years. And all of a sudden it goes to the Supreme Court. It's going to have to be something that is dealt with by the legislature and ultimately probably by voters.
David Copel from the Independence Institute and DU Law School. It seems like he was trying to give a present to Governor-elect Polis of saying at least we tried to tackle this before he left after 8 years of being able to do so, but we'll forget that part. Does it now become an entirely different story in the Polis administration?
Well, I think it's the same story there's always been. The Colorado voters enacted the Gallagher Amendment in the 1980s, which sets limits on the ratio between residential property taxes versus business property taxes. And then they also later enacted the Colorado Taxpayers Bill of Rights, which doesn't affect the Gallagher Amendment, but does put other limits on government tax increases without voter permission. And yes, there is an interplay between the two. The interplay has been going on for a quarter century. Lots of people don't like how the interplay works, but it's a fairly straightforward and understandable thing. And of course, under the Taxpayers Bill of Rights, jurisdictions that want to increase their taxes for whatever reason, like fire districts, can always go to the voters and get permission to do so, as many districts of all kinds, including fire districts, which are sort of the issue that the governor raised here, can do. So the Supreme Court was right to say, yes, we can answer questions of great importance when the governor asks us, but we're not going to answer stupid and rhetorical questions. Like, does the governor say, did the Taxpayers Bill of Rights implicitly repeal parts of the Gallagher Amendment? Well, that's quite a thing to discover 25 years after the Taxpayers Bill of Rights has been on the books. We just found this implication in it that nobody noticed for a quarter century.
Eric Sondren, political analyst. Does the Gallagher Amendment become the new focus here? I mean, TABOR has been focused for 25 years now, but it feels like with that past conference we talked about a few weeks back that the Gallagher Amendment is not easy pickings, but maybe easier pickings. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, the whole, to quote Governor Hickenlooper, fiscal thicket or Gordian knot or whatever you want to call it. I don't know how you untangle it, but Gallagher might be the first step in untangling it. I think it was predictable. I said so on the show a week ago that the Supreme Court would not take these interrogatories. There was really no incentive for them to do so. They like to hear live cases with real disputes as opposed to quote David, hypothetical disputes. And so I was not surprised at the decision. Clearly, Governor-elect Polis sent a signal this week that this is going to be a priority in terms of his appointment of Kerry Kennedy, former state treasurer, former opponent of Jared Polis in the primary. I forget her title, but director of fiscal policy or senior advisor for fiscal policy or something like that. This has been Kerry's mission in life, the whole TABOR and related issue, for many, many years, and you only bring somebody like Kerry Kennedy aboard if you intend some bold action in this regard.
Joey Bunch, Deputy Managing Editor at Colorado Politics. You're one of our guys on the Hill. You know what the legislators are thinking. What do they think about this Hail Mary from Hickenlooper, and what do they think now that it's been what do you think? Knock it down. The Hail Mary was knocked down. Now what?
Well, it depends on whether they have a D or an R behind their name. This was never really a question for the courts in my mind. This is a question of taxation and politics. And that's not more and more in this country, that's what the courts do, but it wasn't what should be done in this case. I think that if we're going to solve this problem, we have to go to the voters. The voters enacted this. The voters should make the decision of whether to undo it. Now, the Gallagher Amendment is easier pickings than TABOR because it has more unintended consequences, or at least what look like unintended consequences. But the value of TABOR and Gallagher is that the voters spoke, and it's up to politicians to listen. If there are problems with either one of them, then offer solutions. Don't offer criticism. And you're right about Kerry Kennedy. That was her plan to pay for education, was to repeal TABOR. So if the Trump administration, the Polis administration, couldn't be more different. But if the Polis administration wants to take on that fight, I think the voters will enjoy watching it.